Welcome to Unbreakable Latina.
Hi guys, welcome back to Unbreakable Latina. Sorry for taking last week off without warning. I know a few of you text me and asked me where my episode was. I just decided to take the time off and I didn't really think anybody would notice, but you guys did, and I appreciate that you guys noticed. I decided to take the weekend off because I was tired and getting ready for the holiday. And it's been really busy, and I was like, "Oh, I'll record." I had a couple days off. I've been off since Wednesday, and here I am recording Sunday at 8 o'clock. It's been such a fun week. Yesterday I went to Disneyland with my best friend, my aunt, and my mom. It was so much fun. But in the roller coasters, I was yelling my little heart out, and I feel like I'm losing my voice, and I'm trying I was trying to get it better so I could record and make it sound good, but I guess I'm just gonna have a sexy voice this whole episode. Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick break to thank you all for your support. When I first started the podcast, I felt lost. I didn't even know where to begin, but thankfully I stumbled upon Anchor. Anchor is a platform that I use to make my podcasts. I can record, edit, and distribute my podcasts on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. So it's a one-stop shop. And the best part is that it's free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to start your podcast today. I hope everyone had a nice holiday. I myself did. My family came over, my sister came over to help cook all the dishes, and everybody brought a little side dish, and it was so much fun. We played a couple games, and I just enjoy the whole getting together with my family. Back in the days, I feel like we used to only get together for holidays, but since the pandemic happened, I feel like we're a lot more united and we spend so much time together. Like, even when I go over to my uncle's house, my cousins are like, "Oh my God, you're here again." But it's been so great to bond with everybody, and we've gotten so much closer. We ate so much. I thought I was going to eat a little more, but I didn't. And I've had some really nice days off, and it's just been great. And I didn't even know what to talk about on this podcast, and I I was listening to other podcasts, and I'm like, wow, everybody just talks and like updates their listeners on their life and everything. And I don't think my life's that interesting, but it actually is. Okay, I'm kind of a celebrity. Just kidding. So the other day, I stumbled upon a post on Instagram, and it read, "I see millennials aren't having babies is making the rounds again. To sum it up, our planet is dying. No one's getting paid enough. There's not adequate maternity leave. No one can afford hospital bills. Most of us can't afford a house. Like, what did you think would happen? Paying my monthly rent that's tripled since 2001 with my paycheck that's the same dollar amount my dad was making in 1993, the opening opening the newspaper and reading stories about why no one has kids anymore." And honestly, I completely agree. Life has just gotten so difficult for us. We're not able to do what our parents were able to do, to have kids, to have a home, to have all these things. Everything just keeps getting more expensive. And it's so hard. I am about to be 32. I don't have kids. And I just think to myself, like, when will I ever be able to afford having a child? It's a lot. I would have to have a good partner that makes good money. And even then, I think it's still difficult. Like, I see coworkers how much they struggle with like daycare and taking their kids to school. And if you don't have your family's help, it's very hard. And I see my brother, and I just see it all around me, and it just got me thinking, like, man, what's going to happen with the world with all of us that don't have kids yet, and it's only getting harder and harder. So, you guys know during the holiday season, you get together with your family, and it, it starts, right? Like, oh, why don't you have a boyfriend? Why don't you have kids yet? Why are you not married yet? And I just want to say, be more mindful when you ask those questions. You don't know what people are going through, and it's such a race for everybody. And I don't get why. And I see it on social media a lot, and I hear it from different friends. You go visit your family, you're there for the holidays, and then they start with the, oh, where's your boyfriend? Or why don't you have a boyfriend? Or why didn't that work out? Or if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, when are you gonna get married? Like, after, if they get married, when are you gonna have kids? When are you gonna have the second kid? When are you gonna have this? And I don't get why people are so involved in asking those really personal questions. Thankfully, my family doesn't really get that involved, but I mean, I've seen it firsthand. It's happened to me from strangers. Like, oh, you're 31 already and you're not married and you don't have kids? Like, man, like, instead of being like, wow, you're 31, you have a career, you've traveled, you've done this, like, people see it so negatively. So us as the new generation, we have to change that, because I've seen so many funny videos like, oh, it's y el novio season again. So instead of asking, where's your boyfriend, or why don't you have a boyfriend? Why don't you ask, like, what are you working on? Like, what are your new hobbies? Or what have you been doing to keep busy lately? How's your mental health? Or when's your next trip? Instead of saying, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna get that degree? Or like, what's going on with your job? Have you worked on any promotions? Are you happy where you're at? We have to change that narrative, because I know if I had family like that, I probably wouldn't show up, because it already adds pressure. Like, life's already hard, right? And people adding pressure, for example, dating. Dating is so freaking hard right now. Like, in my experience, I haven't had the greatest experience dating. I've met some really nice guys, but dating is just difficult. Let's see if I have any stories for you guys. I I g- oh, actually, okay. So, I was listening to this podcast. It's called Girls Gotta Eat, and I believe the episode's called, like, Are My Dating Expectations Too High? And I thought, like, I started listening to it, and they had some good points. I didn't agree with everything they had. They had like a person who worked for Hinge, like an expert, and they were saying how people have like these checklists, right? Like, I want a man that's this, that, this, that. And they were saying, like, a lot of people's expectations are high, and because there's so much to choose from with all the dating apps and social media, like, people are just like, oh, I don't like that guy because he's short, or I don't like that person because he doesn't like this, or he likes the type of music. And I'm not gonna lie, I have been a little bit like that. Like, oh no, like, I could never get along with that person, and like shooting down people that I should have gave a chance, and giving people chances that I shouldn't have given a chance. But anyways, I re-downloaded the apps, and um I haven't been really too much on them because I've been spending a lot of time with my family, and I've just kept busy, so I haven't really had time to just like be on there. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to have a conversation. And I matched with this guy, and we were talking maybe like three messages in, and then he asked, what did he ask me? He's like, "Do you live on your own?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And then he's like, "Oh, just asking." He's all, "Do you rent or do you own?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this a, like, am I applying for a loan? So I messaged him back, and I was like, "Do you want my social security number too, and my balance in my bank account?" And I found that so offensive. Like, why does it matter if I rent or own? Like, what, like, does that make me better, or does that make me worse? I don't get it. I also recently read something that said, dating in my early 20s was so much fun because I was so dumb. And it's so true because now when guys say something and I'm just like, ew, why'd you say that? And before I'd be like, oh my God, like, why'd you say that? And now I just shut it down, and I freaking I hate breadcrumbers. Those are my favorite. So breadcrumbing for me is like when a guy one he'll talk to you and talk to you and talk to you and all of a sudden he kind of like stops talking, but then he'll like, slide in your DMs, or he'll like be like I miss you, and like just whenever they're lonely or whenever they need attention. Like I can't stand that. That's one thing I can't stand. And now that I'm older, like back when I was younger, if a guy would be like, "I miss you," and I haven't heard from him in a couple of days, I'd be like, "Oh my God, he misses me. He really likes me. He thinks about me." And now I'm like, "Ew, like you're lonely or whatever you had going on is not working out." Like now, I'm just so cutthroat. Like and I love the fact that I am owning up to having a voice. Well, I kind of don't have a voice right now, but let's not talk about that. But to having a voice and being like, hey, like calling people out, like, oh, you miss me? Well, why do you miss me? Because I haven't heard from you in a couple of days. Like, I am not giving people energy if they're not giving me the same energy. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, whoever wants to get to know me will get to know me, and vice versa, right? And just the whole dating apps, I'm giving them another chance. I don't really go anywhere to meet people. I mean, when I go to the gym, I like put my headphones in. I'm not gonna date anybody from work. That's a no-no. And the gym, I like headphones in, hat on, and just focus on my workout. I don't go out much. Like this pandemic has made it more difficult. Not everybody wants to go out. It is just, it's harder to meet people. Most people that I know, like meeting on dating apps, like we talked about last time. And I'm not in a rush to find somebody, but it'd be nice to like go, start dating again. I've taken a little break, a couple break, because no one that I've talked to has been good enough. Like I had matched with this guy. We went on a date. It was great. And he he's like, "Oh yeah, like let's plan like to go on another date like a week later or the same week." I think we went on a date on a Sunday, and then Friday he was like, "Let's go on a date on Friday." And Friday comes around, and I don't really hear from him, but we kind of had already said what we were going to do. So, I wasn't thinking too much of it, but in my gut, I kind of felt like it's not gonna happen. Something about today, just like the energy, whatever's the energy is out in the world, like it's not gonna happen. So I start thinking to myself, like, I'm not going, like, no matter what. And then sure enough, like at maybe like 3 hours before the date, he's like, hey, like I'm still slammed at work. And I get it, he has his own business, so I understood, and I was like, yeah, no worries, like we'll reschedule. And I was kind of not feeling it because I had a long day at work, so whatever. I ended up not doing anything that night. I go home, like I was tired, took off my makeup, went to bed. And around 11 o'clock, it was like 10:30 or 11, I get a phone call. And my phone's ringing and I see it's his name pops up and I'm like, what the hell? Like, and I'm like thinking to myself, oh my God, he probably is calling to apologize. But I was already sleeping, so I didn't want to answer. So I was just like, whatever. So the next morning I woke up, I went and work out, and I texted him like, "Hey, got your missed call yesterday. Like, what's up?" And he goes like, "Oh yeah, my cousins invited me to downtown Riverside, and I want to see if you were down." Like, you're calling me after you canceled our date because you were at work late, and now you expect me to answer you at 11 p.m. to get up or to meet up with you at that time to go out with your family that I never met. We've only like one gone on one date. You canceled on me, and like like the audacity to expect me to get up at 11 p.m. to hang out with you after you canceled our date. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, and that was that. Like, I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like, if you don't respect my time, like, time is valuable. You don't get that back. If you don't respect my time, bye. And I remember he, like, I still had him on social media, and I just recently, like, removed him from my social media. And I was just like, this fool, like, he was sliding the DMs, like, what's wrong with people? And these are grown men, these aren't boys. Like, I expect that from like a 20-year-old, 20 something year old, but a 35, 36-year old, like, come on, bro, like, grow up. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about, like, what is up with people asking for your Snapchat? Like, I remember having Snapchat when it came out. Like, I think I was walking down the boardwalk in Venice Beach, and I saw like the Snapchat, and like then I was curious and like download the app, and it was fun. It was fun in the beginning. I was young, I don't know, in my early 20s. And it was cool, but then it turned into like a cringy app. So then I kind of stopped using it. Like I still have it. I'm not gonna lie. I have a few friends that like have it and will randomly send me stuff, but it's not often. I'm not on it all the time. But on the apps, people like put their Snapchat, and I'm like, what are you like? Are you like 20? I think that's such a turn off when guys ask me for my Snapchat. Like, what happened to asking for your phone number? And I know that maybe Snapchat is a more private way, but I just like, how many people are you Snapchatting? I don't know. I find that weird. Anyways, it's El Novio season, and tell your tias that the reason that you don't have a novio is porque you don't anymore. Like a lot of people say, like, I like back in the day, like, people, marriages are hard, relationships are hard. Like, no, it's not that relationships and marriages are hard. I mean, I know that they're hard, but like they say, like, oh, antes las cosas sí, like, duraban. Like, back in the day, things would last. And the reason they would last is because women would tolerate so much, but now that women work and they have their own money and everything, like, you don't have to tolerate that stuff. And I think that's very difficult in dating now. I'm not saying that I don't need a man, because sometimes I need someone to open the jars for me, or like, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying I don't need a man, but I'm saying I'm pretty independent, and I don't have to depend on a man. But um when your tias ask me, like, oh, ¿y por qué no dejó a mi tío when he cheated on you? Or like, like, speak up. Like, shut those tias down, those tios, those primas, whatever. Like, everybody has a different path. Um, I like, I do, like, every single person would, not every single person, but I'm saying, like, I go through my phases where I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to have somebody, but I'm not gonna be with somebody if it doesn't add value to my life or substance to my life. I'll be with someone um when it's the right person. And like I said, I'm not in a rush, but I know that I need to be more open-minded and stop being so cutthroat and give shorties a chance. Just kidding, no more shorties. No, but really, all jokes aside, like, don't be that person. Change that narrative. Ask people what projects they're working at, or like, hey, like, what have you been doing lately? If you see someone like, oh, you went golfing, or like, hey, I saw you picked up bike riding. Like, start like the conversations with something else. Like, why does it always have to be about marriage? And don't be fucking nosy. Like, see, like, if someone doesn't want to have kids, they don't want to have kids. If someone doesn't want to get married, they don't want to get married. Like, let people be who they are. Stop pressuring people to go on to the next step. You only live once. Like, how they said, like, oh, like, how I told you guys about that quote I read about how millennials are not having babies and we can't even buy a house. Like, recently I started thinking about, like, damn, like, by this time I thought I'd have a house by now, and I don't. And I'm still renting, but I'm living below my means. I'm still saving my money. I haven't lost hope. I am hoping that maybe by next year things will get better, but I don't know. Anyways, like, don't let people pressure you. I had no idea what I wanted to talk about on this podcast, and I just ranted about my dating life, and you guys are probably bored of hearing my terrible dates, but I'm back on the apps. If anything, I thought to myself, like, this is just more great content to put on the app. And like, I've had a couple guy friends message me and be like, oh, it's a nice to hear a perspective from a girl on the dating apps, and like, from like to hear what girls think of things you say. But if anything, it's more content, right? And back to like the housing thing. So yeah, like let's not give up. Like let's stay hopeful that things are gonna get better, and you just do whatever makes you happy. Like I've been like now I'm like as long as my bills are paid, I'm saving money. Like I'm planning a lot of trips for next year, but I recently just saw something about a new variant of COVID and I'm like, great. Like I really really want to take a big trip next year and I have like 2 weeks off and I'm hoping I'm able to take it, but I also have to find someone that's down because I don't really want to go alone even though I want to go on an eat pray love excursion by myself. I don't think it's a good idea. And who's gonna take my pictures? I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Well, I just rambled about El Novio season, and don't let your family make you feel pressured about your dating life or what's going on in your life, or if you're gonna have your second kid or third kid or whatever. Like everybody has their own past. It's none ya business. Tell them. And if you guys want to come on the podcast, let me know, or let me know what you guys want to hear. If you want to hear more about my crappy dating stories, I have a few episodes in mind. I just haven't put my thoughts in writing, but I will. So stay tuned for the next episode, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Unbreakable Latina and rate and review the podcast. And I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great week and don't let no one tell you what's next in your life. Bye, guys.